Bonjour.
Bonjour. Je m'appelle Jason. That over there.
Moi, je m'appelle Derek et ça, c'est le Carmudgeon Show, le Voiture Moudion show. An episode of the Carmudgeon Show.
That is not where the name Carmudgeon comes from. It's not Carmudgeon. So you can't just say car is voiture and then mudgeon is mudgeon. Therefore, Carmudgeon in French is voiture mudgeon.
I just did.
This episode How do you say Carmudgeon in French? It's probably just like Jean or Pierre because everyone is a curmudgeon.
Les gens, which is people. This episode of the Carmudgeon Show is about the Alpine A110, in which Jason and I have both driven the A110 and discuss what it's like and a little bit of the history of the A110 and Alpine and the relationship with Renault.
Oui. And for those of you who actually speak French,
I'm so sorry.
Very sorry because we've
butchered your language.
Butchered your language
My condolences.
over the next hour. But we do so in a charming, caring way, and we love you. Except no one loves the French.
Okay, well, I'm going to clap now.
Thank you for clapping at my statement. Not bad.
Thank you.
I'd like to interrupt this podcast for some news.
Tell us the news, Jason.
We're here live.
Live for us.
Live.
Which is always how it is.
Usually, I've been half dead
Sometimes
some of
we've
these
been
podcasts.
dead. That's true.
But there is an announcement to make, which is that we are at Motorlux, which is at Monterey Car Week. This will be spliced into an episode that won't be appearing there. We're doing another one later on. But we need to mention that we are sponsored by Fredestein Tires.
And we, I think, both used Fredestein tires to arrive here.
My Fredestein Tires. In fact, I have two cars here. Sorry for the background noise anyway, where there's a Cobra driving by. Wait, 3 Cobras and a jet taking off. This is the jet set life.
Yes. For someone.
We're going to have to, whoa, that sounds good.
I'd say that's probably a big block.
That's,
Claims to be Superleggera.
I have 2 cars here that arrived via 205-55 R15 Fredestein Sprint Pluses.
And that's a historic note because that tire size is unique to a certain number of European cars from the 80s that Jason really likes, like the 190e 2.316 Cosworth and the BMW E30 325 when it has 15-inch Euro basket weaves.
Damn, you're good.
And that size was historically underserved, but not anymore. Thanks to Fredestein, there's actually a good tire that is made in those dimensions, which I think hasn't been true, 15 years.
And last week we did an episode where we joked that I joked and we had to kind of cut it out that I'm like, oh God, it sounds like we're sponsored by Fredestein because they did come in afterwards and then sponsor the episode. But this is journalist Jason review here.
Mm-hmm.
That Sprint Plus is my favorite tire for all my vintage cars.
Yeah,
Sprint Classic on the older cars, on the 70s cars, Sprint Plus on the 80s cars.
Which is how I arrived here. I arrived here on Sprint Classics because I drove the Jag down. And so we both arrived free of Fredesteins, and that tire we also exercised in our somewhat recent rally as well, and you found them to be very functional for that mission. So
Fredestein actually sent me a set. So my 2.316 is here as a Sacco demo, and the E30 is at the Fredestein tire display. They asked to borrow the car, and that was one of the few cars that I don't have Fredesteins on. And so I'm like, well, I'll just swap them from one car, and they're like, no, we'll send you another pair. And I'm like, this is just another $180 with the mounting and balancing or whatever it is. And I'm actually
only you would complain about free tires.
Yes, that is also true. But actually, I'm not upset about it because I had Yokohama S-Drive's replacement, which is the Fleabag.
Bless you.
Yeah. And I'm very happy to have the
Fredesteins
on the wagon. So,
well, we're a Fredestein family, it seems.
8 sets of them for my car at this point.
And they're not even all in the same car.
No. But yeah, anyway, so thank you, Fredestein, for sponsoring the podcast. And we'll get back to that episode, which was recorded in the dark in the studio with un little French in the background.
Yes, more about that momentarily.
Okay.
All right.
See you then. Bye. Do you know that one song in French?
Is it La Vie en Rose?
No. Close, because that's in French. And that's one of 2 songs I know in French.
What is the other, pray tell?
Do you know if I tell you I don't want to work?
Je ne veux pas travailler. Yeah, that's not actually French. I think that this person who sings that song is not a native French speaker.
No, she's very, very much not, as judging by her very American accent. But do you know so it starts out, Je ne veux pas travailler, which means
I do not want to work.
Je ne veux pas déjeuner.
I do not want to have lunch, I guess.
I don't want to eat, effectively.
Yes, eat lunch.
And it's your turn to sing.
Je veux seulement oublier, et puis je fume.
I love that. I just want to forget, and then I smoke.
Yeah.
It's
which is like a very non-French caricature of what our understanding of what France is.
It's my understanding of what France is. So perfect. That was perfectly on point as far as I was concerned. I was driving the Alpine in the background over there earlier today, and I started singing that. And I thought
about the Alpine.
Well, I told them already, and the car's in the background. I started singing that song, and I wonder if Derek knows that, because I'm sure you and I know that. No one else does.
It was from Hotel Costes, from one of their compilations they used to do one every year.
Yes, I did not realize we had that CD collection in common. Also, we're going to have to explain what the disque compact is for the younger audience. It's how Spotify used to be.
Sure, that's a good paraphrasing.
Yes.
Is this the première French voiture qu'on a eu dans le Carmudgeon studio?
No, we had a Renault R5 Turbo.
No, Carmudgeon studio.
Oh, Carmudgeon studio. Yes, this is also the Revelation studio. And the first episode, le premier épisode de Révélation, I did Renault R5 Turbo, which was in this very studio. But this is our first
never Carmudgeonated with a French car in the background.
Carmudgeonated.
The Carmudgeonator.
Partially Carmudgeonated
content. For
this could be
enjoyment. Okay.
Is this the first episode that we even talked about? No, we talked about. No, your Citroën was in here, wasn't it?
I
know your Citroën was parked
outside. We did an
outside.
episode about it, but I believe that was before we did Carmudgeons with background cars, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Anyway.
So
can you buy a French car in the United States?
Its lights went out.
It got bored.
Oh my God, it's had enough of our shit. It went on strike.
Et puis je fume.
Illuminer. Et puis je
Dors.
dorme. And then I go to sleep. Is this what were you asking before the car?
Can you buy a French car in the United States currently?
No. Not that I know of. I mean, I'm trying to think if there are any Nissan products, because of course Nissan and Renault are in bed with one another. No, I don't believe so.
But as mistresses, not as, or are they married?
They've been married for many years.
Oh, so it doesn't mean they're in bed. They're having
nuptials. They're married.
They're married, yes, but they have mistresses, presumably.
The mistresses are now like Stellantis, and I don't even know. So many car companies are in bed with each other. I can't even tell. Anyway, so we have, thanks to the graciousness of a hero. Did we talk about this in previous episodes? No.
We have not.
We've not.
At all.
So I get a random email from Matt Farah, and he's like, hey, this guy is trying to get in touch with you. He shipped we think he's maybe British. Haven't met him. Haven't spoken to him. He lives in France, and he shipped his A110 to the East Coast and decided to drive it cross country on vacation, hitting every racetrack he could, and then ditched it at Farah's place and for storage. And Matt and Zach did a video on it, and then is coming in next week, whatever, is coming in shortly to do Monterey Car Week, and said, hey, if you'd like to drive it. So I drove it up from LA, and it's mostly been sitting here parked. He told me, take it on a rally, take it on back roads, just drive it around. I'm too nervous. I just don't want anything to happen, knowing that this is someone else's car
Why, you don't want to have to take it to the dealer to get it fixed?
Well,
the nearest dealer?
And he was like, well, don't worry about it. Like, I PPF'd the whole front end, and we did a back roads rally, and which maybe we'll talk about next week.
Or last week.
We don't know. It's whatever. Time doesn't matter on this show. And I really wanted to take it, but I thought, what happens if I break his windshield?
Yeah, you would have to take it to the nearest dealer.
Right.
which would be quite costly.
Maybe Montreal. Maybe they'd be able to pull
Do
some
they sell these
strings.
cars in Canada?
Of course not, but they're French, so they could at least call the dealer.
Put it through the direct portal to France that it is in Montreal.
Yeah, exactly. Or order something. I'm sure they have like some sort of... I'm sure they're nicer to each other than they are to Americans.
I think that there's friction between Canadian French and French.
There's friction between French, and everybody else. Anyway, I decided not to take it, which was a shame because it would have been a lot of fun, but it was probably the right thing to do. But we have some observations. And you drove the car.
I drove it for, 6 miles or something like that.
That's it?
I drove it to the top of the hill and back.
Oh, okay. So it was at least a sort of city highway, sort of mountain slog.
I was on the highway for one exit, and I think I did 7 or 8 corners in it.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to hear all that you have to say about this. Let's back up and talk about what is the Alpine A110. Introduced, I believe, in 2017.
That is my understanding as well. I remember seeing one on the road in 2018 in Switzerland.
Okay, that would track. I am not going to go too in depth on this because I am about to film a Revelations episode on it. I figure while it's here,
You may as well revelate.
do it. Revelate, and that I have an original A110 coming, which is
Have you researched that yet?
Yeah.
So you know the story of that car?
I want you to tell me.
No. You probably know it better than I do at this point.
Doesn't matter. I want a different perspective on the story. So we have that coming as well, and so we figure we talk about this car and how it fits into the modern car world, rather than so much the history. But, or maybe we should probably tell them. Do you know what Alpine is?
So does this car's paperwork say that it's a Renault, or does it say that it is an Alpine? Does it say Renault anywhere on it?
I have not seen a single Renault badge anywhere on the car. It's Alpine everywhere. I would guess...
Is this part of the Formula One team rebranding also?
Before that, because that was 2021. Now, I'm going to have to go and look at the paperwork on the car right now. Sorry. Keep talk amongst yourself.
Right. So historically, Alpine. I know we have to say it avec un accent français. So historically, Alpine was a separate company from Renault, and Renault bought Alpine in the probably early first half of the 70s, I'm guessing, so 74 was it? Okay, and the car was famously very successful as a rally car, and it was the link between. What does it say? It is the link. Oh, that is French paperwork.
Oui, c'est ton certificat immatriculation. It's a immaculate conception paperwork. It's an Alpine. Doesn't say Renault anywhere on it.
Okay. So Alpine was a separate company until Renault bought them in 1974. The car was rear-engined and was pretty successful as a rally car. Pretty successful. I think it did 1, 2, 3 at Monte Carlo, and then twice.
Twice, 71 and then 73. And then 73 was the inaugural season of the World Rally Championship, and it won it outright.
Right. First car ever to win WRC.
And in 71, I think it was a 1, 2, 3, 4 finish, and 73 was a 1, 2, 3, 5 finish. So, I mean, it was comprehensively kicked the shit out of everything else.
Yes, it's the missing link between the Lancias on either end, which also dominated, which would be the Fulvia, which was front-engined and front-wheel drive, and the Stratos, which is the first... We have discussed it at length, but it's the first purpose-built rally car, and it's the reason why the A110 stopped being competitive.
Yeah. So Alpine was not really even just an independent company. It was formed by a guy, Jean Redelais, whose father owned a Renault dealer pre-war. The dealer was bombed, and he took the dealership over after the war, built it up, and then he started to race once he was making enough money to do so, presumably, started to race old Renault. Not old, but they were new then.
Then new Renault.
That were standard first. Standard stock cars did quite well, and then started modifying them. Then, this is an interesting story, actually, then made 3 aluminum bodies to be put onto the 4CV. So the 4CV was the 4 Chevaux was the it's Renault Volkswagen Beetle.
Yes, that's a good way to characterize it. The 2 Chevaux, 2 tax horsepower, is the Citroën, and then the 4CV was the next step up in terms of car.
And I know nothing about the 4CV other than that the Renault brother, the one surviving Renault brother, wound up seeing a preview of the KDF wagon before the war, and then was working on making a version of it that improving upon it, the original Porsche design. And so after the war, then started making this 4CV, which was very, very much a Volkswagen Beetle in its swing axle over suspension. I think the front end suspension was very similar.
Doors. More doors, yes. But the original prototype for the 4CV was a Beetle. Just was a Beetle. So now you have this rear engine. It was not air cooled. It was water cooled. But it was a water cooled inline 4 in the back of the 4CV. And so Redelet had a aluminum body made for the car. He made 3 of them. The second one wound up going to the States to be evaluated. There's a company in Pennsylvania, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, that specialized in plastics, and he was looking at making a fiberglass version of the car. And so that car wound up going to the States. That deal fell apart. Nothing ever came of it. That car sort of was sold to a local car enthusiast. This is bizarre because I'm reading this book and it says a local car enthusiast named Raymond Buckwalter. And I have a friend of mine is named Raymond Buckwalter, and he lives in that same area of the country. And I started thinking about this and going, wait a second. 20-something years ago, I was at their family's farm and he showed me this little blue thing in the barn and asked me if I knew what the fuck it was. And I had no idea. It was this blue, tiny little itty bitty car. And I sat in it, or opened the door at least, and had no idea what it was. That's the car. Huh. Turns out that that car sat in the barn for 20-something years, and now 10-something years ago, Redelet's son found it, purchased it from the Buckwalter family, brought it back to France, and it's now back in service, which is that's cool.
Completely wild. I had no idea what this car was.
What does it look like? Does it look like an A110?
It's 50% of the way to an A110. It's pretty cool. It's got these really weird double headlights right at it's got like a pointy front end, and it's got this bizarre double headlight sort of in the center over there. Pretty little thing, but just bizarre. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so he made 3 of those, and then wound up in a partnership with, I think it was his brother-in-law or somebody, and then they figured out a way to make the bodies out of fiberglass in Europe. Michelotti designed the car, and Michelotti is responsible for a lot of really cool designs of the era. You will have a list in your head of them, because I don't.
Yeah, so Michelotti started designing cars for Vignale. So a lot of the weird-looking coach-built Ferraris from before 1953 and earlier were designed by Michelotti, but he also did like the Triumph TR6 and all kinds of Vignale-bodied stuff also. I mean, what else did Michelotti do? The Triumph Sprint
Didn't he
sedan.
do some BMW stuff too?
He did the concept, the whatever the Garmisch was a reference to, I think, and maybe he did the restyle on the not the Neue Klasse, the E9. But yes, he designed a lot of different things.
Really? He was a designer and he designed things. Anyway, Michelotti designed the car. They made the bodies out of fiberglass, and they wound up
in France. In France,
yeah. They wound up these. Bodies wound up on not the 4CV anymore, but it was on the R8, which was the replacement for that car. So they were Renault floor pans basically with sort of sexy little bodies on them. And thus began this it was an A106, then 108, then 110. It was just as the Renault version progressed to this. So A110, I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. The car is texting me that it wants a break and a cigarette. So the car sort of came out as a 51 horsepower little street car, basically, as the A110. It's wound up with 180 horsepower at its peak, and the goal behind the car was légèreté, lightweight. And going back through period reviews of the original A110, I mean, they basically couldn't have said more nice things about it. It was incredibly well loved, and for a number of reasons. Number one, the ride was wonderful. But then the handling for a rear end, typically French. The handling was, everyone described it sort of as neutral, without the snap oversteer that you'd get from any of the German rear engine stuff, i.e. Porsches. and Volkswagen Beetle. So even though it was a swing arm, rear axle, pendulum axle at the back. Yeah.
Have you driven it yet?
I have not. So
nor have I.
For the A110 episode, I found a competition A110 original one, and I'm hoping to drive that before we start filming. But really spicy noises. They make some pretty cool sounds. Apparently they're tiny.
Yes. And the proportions are such. I think these cars are a little bit like Miuras, where the proportions hide how small they are, and then you're like, oh, these wheels are 13s.
Yeah.
But they're proportioned in such a way that they really look like much bigger cars than they are. And the first time you see one in person, you're like, wow, it's very, very small.
There's quite a lot about that in period reviews about how it's so rare to find a small car that's well proportioned.
Yes.
Typically
Usually
they're bubbly
cartoonish.
or cartoonish, exactly. But yeah, apparently this is
because the overhangs
tiny.
are too short to have any useful form, and you're stuck with the package of what a human is shaped like and the wheels and all that stuff.
So yeah, so that's the original A110. Did really, really well in rally.
I would love to drive one. I have never done so.
Well, you should show up for the Revelation shoot and steal it. I'm sure the owner won't care.
He has offered actually to me to drive it before.
What the fuck is wrong with you? I know, life gets in the way.
Yeah.
So A110 had a long run. I think it was 11 years, something like that.
Early 60s to late, like 76, 77, I think. It was 15 years almost,
I have it in my
think.
notes. It's somewhere. It's quite a long run. It sold quite well.
They made them in Mexico too.
They made them in Brazil. They made them in Mexico. They made them in Switzerland. They were sort of made all over the place in kits with parts that were supplied by Alpine. The company was actually named Alpine by Renault in sort of celebration of all of his successes in rallies in the Alps. Alpine,
yeah, small
Alpine.
and agile car, ideal for small Alpine roads.
Yeah, right.
Or Alpine roads.
Not realizing actually that the year before he incorporated, the Sunbeam Alpine had come out in the UK. And so there's always been a branding problem for Alpine. Because number one, you have Alpine, which was a Sunbeam, and then Alpina, which is the German Alpine brand for BMW. It was a BMW tuner. Wasn't it?
Was quite some years later.
That is true. That is years later. But Sunbeam came first. So
yes.
Yeah. So that's the sort of rough history of Alpine. After that, the replacement for the A110 was the A310, which was also rear-engined. With originally a 4-cylinder and then eventually a PRV
yeah.
V6, which was eventually also then turbocharged.
Correct. And this would be, then it became the A610 and the GTA Turbo.
Which
produced well into the 90s.
1995. Production was killed off in 1995. I froth over the way that car looks. I think they're stunning.
I have not yet driven one, but I would like to drive one of those.
There's got to be one. I wanted to do a Revelations actually. The Revelations that I have a handwritten list of all the Revelations candidates that we wanted to do, and I think the fourth car down when I came up with the series concept was A110/A310. And as it turns out, I would love to get the two cars together, but I'm really cramped for time on the scripting for this one, so we're just going to keep it original A110 and new A110. And maybe one day I'll be able to do a 310 episode, 310, 610 GTA episode. But that car, I saw one at Radwood in Austin a year and a half ago, and it was in eggplant emoji purple, and the car is gorgeous.
I saw one on the street in Paris. Of course, a red 310 with the GT pack with the flares and shit on it, and it had like an exhaust on it. It was very, very memorable. And then I saw a French blue one. Actually, that one was also 310 on the Autobahn in Germany, going like 210K.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, I was in the GT3 at that time, and that was a very memorable. It was like golden hour in the French metallic blue. It was a very cool experience.
Yeah, they're just stunning. There's cars that just don't even exist to most people. And of course, my whole life, the only thing I knew about them was that I read in car magazines, thought that it was an Alpine A310. I didn't know how it was pronounced, obviously. There's a nice benefit of doing videos instead of car magazine stuff. I don't have to tell people how to pronounce stuff. I just pronounce it.
And then people tell you in the comments that you have pronounced it wrong, even though you have pronounced it correctly.
We've gotten a lot of shit about this because Jaguar. We call it Jaguar, and then the Brits yell at us that it's Jaguar. And no, I'm sorry, Jaguar we've discussed this, is a word in the English language that we pronounce the way we do, same like aluminum. And then I'm yelled at for insisting on the correct pronunciation of Porsche, although they do yell at me and say it's Porsche because it's Swabian slang or Swabian accent, so it's Porsche instead of Porsche. And then I don't apply the same rigor on Japanese and Korean car companies. I'll call them Hyundai, for example. But
Porsche calls themselves Porsche in their U.S. marketing materials.
I would say I typically call people what they want to be called, except that I called you hyphen and I refuse to relent. And so, tough.
Yeah, nobody has died.
I'm sure people have from that. Okay, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, given this great opportunity to drive an A110 in the States, hop in this car, don't know the owner, don't know anything about it. All I'm told, I showed up at Farrah's studio. We did the podcast down there and he was like, tell me what you think of it. Here's the key. Ta-ta. Mm-hmm. Figure it out. Hopefully you don't get arrested. Didn't get arrested, made it here. Car is spectacular.
Really? Mm-hmm. You think so?
I just think we've been lied to. Like the car industry.
About how we have to make heavy cars that suck.
I mean, could there possibly be a modern car that lights your hair on fire to the extent of the old stuff that we drive? No, I just don't think that's possible. Once you have structural rigidity and isolation in the way that modern cars do so well, you don't have the true insanity. And when you're dealing with a car like this, which is a transverse 4-cylinder with a turbo on it and a dual clutch automatic that's sort of out of more pedestrian cars, and the layout is sort of shared with more pedestrian cars, you're just not going to get the carbureted.
This sounds like an Alpha 4C.
It's exactly the same formula as a 4C. Mm-hmm. And it's about the same weight, and it's not made out of carbon. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so 4C, we were told, that was really expensive as a car, right? It was $70,000. $70,000. This would be about the same.
For a carbon chassis, though. It's pretty exciting for something that looks like that with a carbon chassis for $70,000 is 10 years ago.
I love a 4C. I think that, anyone who gave that car a bad review missed the point. Mm-hmm. And I started out I was on the launch of that car and I started out complaining about the interior and complaining about the sound and complaining about all this other stuff from the passenger seat. And I was there with Aaron Robinson, who was at Car Driver at the time, now works for Haggerty Media. And he was like, he's sort of whiny with his glasses. He was like, would you shut the fuck up? You're the problem. And I was like, what? And he's like, not everything needs to be a fucking German car. And he was totally right. As soon as I got behind the wheel of the car, I shut right the fuck up. That car is deeply flawed in so many delightful, delicious ways. Mm-hmm. And
it's like an Abarth, but doesn't sound as good.
It doesn't sound quite as good as the Abarth. 500 Abarth. But yeah, so you get in this car and the first thing you notice is it is huge inside.
Yes.
Enormous.
It feels very, very different. That was one of the notes that I made to myself when I got in. I said, this is like a real car. When you get in a 4C or an Elise, it doesn't feel like a real car. It feels like some sort of device that has been sort of foisted upon you, masquerading as a car. This feels like a real car. In that sense, it's a bit like a Porsche.
Yeah. Yeah, fair point.
To me, the continuum goes Elise/Exige, 4C, this Cayman, in terms of least car to most car.
But you would also, that same continuum would also describe their size, funny enough. So this car is 21 inches longer than an Elise.
Really?
21. I stepped over to it thinking, it's so petite. And it's like this tiny little thing.
Well, how does the size compare to a Cayman? It's smaller than a Cayman.
Mm-hmm. 8 inches, I think, smaller than a Cayman. So, what it has that a Cayman doesn't is 52 feet of headroom above you. It's, first of all, getting in. Getting into an Elise is a contortionist act. Mm-hmm. Nope. Door open super wide, no high sills. You just hop into this car like it's a normal thing.
And that's where there's a big chasm that exists between 4C and A110 on that 4-car continuum, to me. And that's...
You think 4C is difficult?
It's close. I'd say the 4C is closer to the Elise than it is to this.
Oh, okay. I don't remember the 4C being difficult, but I always compared the 4C to an Elise. Yes. So that was, that was the standard by which it was judged. But none of them have that much room. This thing has room behind your seat, or like behind the seat, between you and the firewall. Huge headroom. The seats, this is a GT model. This is an early GT, which means it has plush seats, like power seats, and it is genuinely comfortable. Like you get in and you're like, this is a real seat with real bolsters and real padding. There's a real armrest on the door that's got like an inch thick of padding in it. So your elbow's comfortable. I mean, I got in the car and I drove 5 hours straight and just didn't think anything of it.
It's a real car.
The genuine real car, which is staggering. Is the interior up to Porsche standards, and more importantly, like Porsche press car standards that have like $38,000 worth of interior trim options? No.
Yeah, but nor should it be at the price.
I wouldn't want it to be. Especially if that meant it was going to be 550 pounds heavier, like a 4-cylinder Cayman is.
Yes, or 550,000 pounds more in price, or whatever all those options cost in a Porsche.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I did we can't do one-for-one price adjustments here because this car's not for sale here, but I did compare the price of a base 4-cylinder Cayman in Germany and a base Alpine A110. And it's a 24% price premium for the Alpine. Alpine's 24% more expensive.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a tall pile of Euro notes.
It is. But then I also adjusted the Porsche for the equipment level that comes standard on this car, like things like, this is like this one, for example, has comfortable seats that are partially power. It has heated seats. It's got, all kinds of Porsche, the Porsche options game, like you have to pay for everything. And so this would effectively be a $70,000 car. The base Cayman is a $70,000 car. This would be like a $90,000 car. But comparably equipped, that Porsche is more like 80, 78, 80. So it would be something along the lines of $12 to $15,000 more expensive than a Cayman for this car. I would 100% pay that because a base Cayman to me is off the table with that horrendous flat four. Mm-hmm. Makes all the power. I mean, it makes great power, but the sound it makes is just not a remote consideration. But it is less practical. It has two trunks. There's a frunk and a trunk like the Cayman, but they're both smaller. No interior storage whatsoever. Like no binnacles, no glove box, no nothing. And I think that, that's fine. I have a lease that effectively did that. Didn't bother me. But this one has a stereo system. Did you listen to stereo?
No.
Oh, I should have paired your phone and done it. So it's got this like the world's most ghetto ass touchscreen. It's genuinely terrible.
Yeah, it looks vintage.
That was updated, I think, for 2020. These cars got, or 2021. This is a 20, whatever it is. 2021, they got CarPlay. But this touchscreen is genuinely like doofy. But it has a Focal stereo in it. I assume it's pronounced Focal. After all that fucking speech about pronunciation, now I'm gonna have to look this up. It's a high-end stereo brand.
What is it, French?
Je sais pas.
Presumably not.
Stereo pronunciation. I'm looking. You can talk amongst yourself. I'm looking now on my. So
the question, of course, is it available as a manual, and is it available with any number of cylinders besides 4? And the answer to both of those questions is no. This is a Nissan engine, you said?
It's a Nissan 1.8. All right. The word focal is generally pronounced with a short A sound like focal. Okay. So it is focal. Anyway, it's got two big, what looks like, they look bigger than 6s, probably 8-inch woofers in the doors, and then tweeters on the dash that are prominent. And the fucking sound system in this car, and I know this is ridiculous to talk about this first, but my first experience with the car was hop in LA and just get out of Dodge before the traffic gets terrible. And so I just get on the freeway and oh my God, like jammed for 5 hours through the desert with like singing my ass off. Great soundstage, beautiful treble, beautiful vocals. Just it's a real car. Like it's actually quieter. I looked it up in German tests. It's actually quieter inside than a Cayman, 1 decibel by most speeds. So you get great seats, fucking killer stereo, good visibility out of the thing, and then the ride quality is French. This one's lowered. It's on lowering springs. Yeah, it's on lowering springs, and it's quite a bit lower. I think it's 30 mil. Which is over an inch. Doesn't scrape literally anywhere.
It does the Emira thing.
The Lotus Emira thing, yeah.
Yes.
Softer than an Emira. It's got body roll, but really well controlled. So as a road trip vehicle, all I kept thinking is, fuck, if my Elise did this, like if I could get in and out of like this, and if it was a bit bigger like this so that I wasn't scared that I was going to get run over. Like, this could be a daily.
So this car weighs 500 pounds more than an Elise and 500 pounds less than a Cayman. What's the difference?
Yeah, thereabouts. So this is 250 horsepower. It is a Nissan 1.8 direct injection turbo.
I actually didn't. The motor did not offend me, actually.
It does not. It certainly makes the power, and it's got great top end. It pulls really hard to its. I think it's a 6,700 RPM rev limit. Pulls really hard up top, and the induction noise. So I had our good old friend who's been on the show, Nick Mercadante, was in the car with me, and he's like, "That's fake. There is no way a turbocharged engine can have that much induction noise because it's genuinely loud." It's sort of like Porsche Cayman GT4, where, like off idled, you just start moving and just, and it's not, he's right. It's very difficult to do that. So I have yet to pull the engine cover off. You can't see the engine off without this thing, without gymnastics, but I want to see if it's a tube and they've come up with some sort of tuned tube resonance thing, or if it's a speaker doing it. But either way, that engine is right here and it's very vocal, and I like that.
Yeah. And in sport mode, I noticed that the exhaust is also making some noises, but not like in a terrible crackle tune way, but in a sort of believable, credible, sort of pleasant way, overrun especially. So I thought that was clever. Altogether, not an unpleasant engine, despite the fact that it on paper is not a very exciting thing.
I mean, it's not musical, but it's not offensive at all.
No, but it's 4 cylinders go, especially turbocharged 4 cylinders.
Turbocharged, yeah. Because we say, Hondas.
Yes.
Like, could you imagine if this thing had a fucking K-Series?
Or a manual transmission.
Or both, yeah. Preferably.
The transmission is good.
It's really good.
It's just, it's a 7-speed dual clutch.
So interestingly enough, in regular mode, it's perfectly fine in drive, to drive in normal. In sport, the transition between overrun and on-off gas is violent. So you're creeping through traffic and it's boom, 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 boom.
I didn't do any of that.
That I noticed, and I was really getting sick of it because I wound up getting stuck in traffic on that drive home. And then I put it in normal mode, and that just completely went away. And I thought, why would someone ever program this fuckery in here? Like, this is just something... no one ever.
It could have been an artifact of something else that someone wanted.
Yeah, but you can't. I mean, you can't make a car undrivable in traffic to your passengers. Like, it's just.
Yeah, you put it normal.
You just. Okay, I guess. Fine. Sure. But what I love most about the transmission is that the shifters are enormous and fixed to the column. Yeah. And metal.
Yeah, when I got in the car, I was like, oh, Jason will love this.
Yeah, that's correct.
Or did love this.
I did.
Yeah.
So Farah, and I'm annoyed that I have to admit this, he was completely right. Not that nothing against Farah, but he was like, he said something McLaren, and I sort of just glossed over that. This is a Fisher-Price, my first McLaren. If you want to know, if you don't have the opportunity to get in like a 570S or something.
But you do have the opportunity to somehow get one of these.
If you're in Europe, for example, one is far more attainable than the other.
Correct, if you're in Europe.
This is a dollar store 570. In that, you get in, your legs are stretched straight out, and it's a long distance to the pedals. So the driving position immediately reminded me of McLaren. The shifters on McLarens are not, I think they're on the steering wheel, but they're not this good. But the way the transmission shifts immediately reminded me of McLaren. The intake noise reminded me of a 4-cylinder intake versus a flat plane crank V8.
Those are the same thing as far as I can tell?
Right, same shit. Plus the way the turbo is a bit vocal in this car, it all felt McLaren. The steering is super light. The ride quality is great. It all felt McLaren. And just the way they manage boost and on part throttle, you sort of make these instant shifts, and then it comes back from the shift with more throttle opening, so that the level of acceleration is consistent after the gear change. It just encourages you to play with it because it's so smooth, and just make these like heavy load mid RPM, like 3,500 RPM shifts, just for fun. Mm-hmm. Steering is electrically assisted. It's not the most communicative on the straightaway, but I finally did earlier today get it on a back road, and fuck me.
Really?
Oh my God.
I was entertained for sure. It felt, actually the characteristics that it felt like, I was like, I'm doing something. I'm involved. Yeah. This has texture, and much more interesting than a Porsche actually was the sort of that's the headline for me.
Yeah.
Was that it was somehow much more interesting than a Porsche.
I like to hear you say
know,
that. Can you say that again? Louder. Kidding.
I'm wondering now also if you gave it a really great powertrain to go with. I mean, this powertrain is very pleasant, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you gave it something where the powertrain became a centerpiece, where you have a great shifter with a great manual with 6-cylinder noises that were naturally aspirated, I think this thing would be really,
it would shit on the Cayman GT4 or Cayman GTS 4-liter.
Yeah.
So it does have the same power to weight, or slightly even better than, I guess, the 300. So there's a 300 horsepower variant of this engine, and that does have a better power to weight ratio than a Cayman GTS 4-liter. This one, I did a quickie run in Mexico on an airstrip, and it was 4.3 to 60. And launch control is very easy to, you just sort of both pedals in and go. It's the softest launch you'll ever get. It sort of just gradually fades the clutch in, and you can actually see that. I'll put this in as an insert. You can see that the genuine fade of clutch engagement off the line. So the fact that it did pull off a 4.3 is pretty,
without dumping,
without an aggressive launch, means it's actually faster than like a Porsche that would pull off a 4.3. So you can sort of see the G chart curve right there. It's just very slow build. So I kept my foot in it a little bit longer in Mexico on the runway, and got a quarter mile time, but it was pretty significantly uphill towards the end. And I did one direction. This is not an official number, but I got a 12.85, which would go up to 12.9 at 109 miles an hour. It's fucking quick, and it just pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls, really belying the 1.8 literness of it all.
Yeah,
yeah.
So you enjoyed the chassis as well.
Yeah, and what I loved most about it was that it just didn't give a fuck about bumps.
Yeah,
like there are cars that
like
don't.
An Emira.
Yeah, I think it rides better than an Emira.
I remember the Emira being I was very pleased with how the Emira behaved on a bumpy back road. And so as long as it serves that minimum content of being acceptable and enjoyable to drive, as fast as you would like on a bumpy back road, then I'm a happy camper.
I couldn't get this thing to scrape or hit anywhere. I think we did get the Emira once. On our drive.
It was it was Carmel Valley Road, right, which is extremely tortuous.
It's a very hilly part of Mexico. And that, I think we've talked about this in the past, that my boss was in a Z06 Corvette and turned around on that road. Like he made it a mile or two and said, forget it, and turned around. We did a full speed blast and never slowed us down. I think this car is even lowered like this is more compliant. And the wild thing is there's a corner right around the corner from here that, where it's sort of like 120 degree or 108
uphill. This is
right around the corner right here.
Oh, yes.
That's, as soon as you come around the corner, it's sort of banked a little bit. You turn in and it then becomes 2 lanes wide. So you have a lot of room to gather it up should anything go wrong. And a lot of stuff goes wrong because there are a couple of big heaves and bumps in the middle of this corner that will make a lot of cars sound like they're cracking in half, and will throw some cars violently offline. I came around this thing at full song, all 4 tires squealing, and those bumps not only didn't upset the car, didn't exist. They just were gone. This little thing sent a bunch of little Frenchmen out in front, and they're like, repave the surface and then ground all the bumps down and then put them back once it was done. It was genuinely unbelievable. And I just think, wow, like, why do we not have French cars? With roads as shitty as they are in America,
yes.
We deserve
soft suspension and soft seats is the French way.
Yeah.
Still today. Interesting to know, because I don't drive a lot of modern French cars.
Well, this was a lot of, I wonder, so remember the original A110 was rear-engined. This is mid-engined, and this is, you could say, a cynical exercise in style, making it
new
look
Beetle.
Yeah. Although this isn't quite cartoonish in the same way that New Beetle was.
You recycle the aesthetic and it's superimposed on something that mechanically is not close into the original formula. Yeah. Is what I mean.
But when I drove it, I wrote a whole ton of notes, obviously. And when I was going through and doing the research on the original A110, there were so many things. I'm like, oh, that clearly they baked in, like sensitivity to side winds, for example. This car, one of my notes on I-5 was, I would not VMAX this car. Like, I would not take it to 150 miles an hour. I think it actually does 160. according to some of the tests in Germany. Like I just wouldn't do it. It was hard enough to keep in its lane at 85 miles an hour with a pretty aggressive side wind. And then I was talking to the owner of the car, and he said, "Yeah, I think it was Harris that said the car was uncontrollable in side winds." Okay, yeah. So I thought the Germans would never let this happen.
Right.
And then I came into a corner, an off-camber corner, where I was doing a lot of braking towards it on the drive that I just did, and it was very much happy.
Disorderly.
It was happy to explore. It was like a puppy. Oh, let's go over here. Let's go over there. Let's go. I mean, it took a lot of steering just to keep it in its lane. And again, I thought the Germans would never let this happen. And then I slapped myself on the wrist, and I was like, and thank God that the French allow this. Yeah. But that was a characteristic of the original A110 was like side wind sensitivity and induction noise. There's
walking around under braking.
Yeah. But also supple ride and just, some of the period reviews were just talking about like, we don't understand how Alpine got a car with a swing axle to possibly handle like this. And I just think, I don't know how they got a car with this little visible wheel travel and whatever else to ride like this. I don't get it.
Yep. Overall, a delight.
Yeah. A reminder that we need more things like Alpha 4Cs.
Yeah. I was very impressed by the extent to which it actually had genuine character. For a modern car, I just assume it's not going to be present. And I really thought, like, this is so much more entertaining and engaging and interesting than a Porsche. There's a severity and, like, button down and goodness to a Porsche that is, boring.
Boring. Yeah. I would love to drive this back-to-back with a base Emira 4-cylinder. Because I did drive
because they are formulaically similar in that they are both turbocharged 4-cylinder, 2-pedal.
I think the Emira is quite a bit bigger. I mean, I haven't looked up the specs on size with this, and it's certainly a lot heavier because they are over 3,000 pounds. But that 4-cylinder, I drove it once. I don't think I particularly cared for it. I was on a little racetrack at that Treadwell. I talked about that Treadwell experience from Discount Tire. It was just a little bit of an on-track sort of excursion. But that engine is not pleasant in any other application. So this together with that would be a hell of a comparison test. And I think I would choose this, despite the Emira's goodness. Now, Emira being available with a manual and the supercharged
V6, there's no contest.
But there's also probably, that would have to be, what was that car now? $120,000?
Yes.
30?
Right.
I didn't pay attention to the final pricing when it came out.
Yeah. What about looks? We've not talked about looks.
I think the front end is a little bit complicated. I love obviously it's a throwback to the original. I think
it's wonderful.
I think it's pretty. I think the back end is fucking spectacular.
Yeah.
The light signature.
What about let's return to the front. What about the front do you find? I really
it's the
appreciate
secondary lights. I mean, I know why they're there. I love it.
I think it is defining. I think if without it would be totally anonymous.
It would look like a fucking Cayman.
Yeah,
look at the shape of those headlights.
Or I see a little GT86 also in the shape of the headlights. Mm-hmm. I think that the secondary lights to me make it instantly identifiable and give it an identity that is very like unambiguous and distinctive and unique. Yeah. Also,
I mean, look, saying it's busy doesn't mean I don't like it. I love the way the car looks front and back, and the light signature at front, when of course it turns its lights off, but is great because it's those secondary driving lights not only have DRLs in them, but also they flash. Hold on, I will give you guys a demonstration of this.
If it lets me. And the central spine is also super acknowledgement of you got nothing. Oh, there you go. Oh yeah. So you get Überholt prestige, the get out of my damn way thing for use on the Autobahn. Oh, you're gonna leave those functioning. So yes, the central spine also is very much an acknowledgement of the original A110, which I think is a handsome car as well.
Yeah, I mean, certainly given its size, to be able to pull off proportions like that at that size. No, I think this is, great. I will say it's amazing how few people notice it because people are just checked out. I mean, every motorcyclist gave a thumbs up. Everyone in any cool car was like, but the sort of regular.
The average person, I guess you would read it as general sports car shape maybe doesn't read that differently from a GT86 or a Porsche or...
I mean, if you think this thing looks that much like a GT86, you need to...
Well, I don't know. I mean, the average person is like, that's not a crossover. Right. It's a sports car. That's and true. Sports car shaped cars are, GT86 and Miata are probably the most commonly seen on the roads here. Or a Z, maybe. Right. I don't know.
I was thinking funny you mentioned Miata. I was thinking on the back roads, like this thing absolutely shits. Other than the fact that it's not a convertible, which always adds, another layer to the experience, it just shits on a Miata because it's light.
And it's not a manual.
And it's not a manual, but it's
not naturally aspirated.
Yes, chassis wise though, because when the Miata, team said, "Oh, well, we need to have body roll to communicate the sense of sportiness at 6/10, whatever."
Yeah,
this
but
is
it's
body
like
roll.
disorderly.
Exactly.
Body roll.
This is how you tune a 2,400 pound car.
Yeah.
It's chassis. And it's all the fun of the Miata with the roll and the compliance and whatever else without anything out of control. And then, of course, I realized it is also more than twice the price of a Miata. So, I mean...
But it's the same price or... No, it's more than a Z also, I guess.
Oh, the Z can go fuck itself.
Yeah, the Z has no part in any of this.
This is not, right. I'm trying... And the GR86, I guess, is relevant in this conversation, but it is a 4-seater... ish. I mean, it does have a back seat. Okay. I adore that
back
car.
seat belt, so you can't drive it in the carpool lane.
Yes. Unless you remove the seats or just...
No, you still can't.
Really?
Yes.
Did you...
I mean, allegedly.
Did you find this out the hard way, Mr. Tam-Scott? In Mexico? Mexico has HOV lanes? I didn't know that was a thing. Look, GR86, if I've said a million times, if it was a shooting brake, I'd own one. But the real problem, the engine of that car is another one that's just not a highlight. If it was an inline four, if it had the Miata's inline four, it would be much better for it. But I'm bummed, genuinely bummed that we don't have this car in the US. I think.
So you think there's a market or a niche for it? Like, talk me through who buys this car and what is it for? It's someone who is gonna spend Porsche money but isn't buying a Porsche because, like, what's the decision tree that leads you to this car?
The overwhelming feeling that I got when I was driving it around. This would be my daily. This wouldn't be a special thing. Was when I was in my early 20s, a good friend of mine in Germany had an MGF. He had a string of really cool cars. He had a Renault, the 5-cylinder thing for a very brief moment of time, that crazy Renault Spider thing.
Those weren't 5 cylinders. You're talking about the Sport Spider, the thing that's a shoe that has like no carpets and stuff? They're always yellow?
No. Later than that. It was that, what the hell, with the crazy taillights. Why am I fucking blanking on this? Fiat. It was that Fiat Coupe.
Yeah, the Fiat 5-cylinder Fiat. That was Chris Bangle designed car.
Right, exactly. Oh, I know. I'm thinking I have Frenchness.
The 20-valve turbo 5-cylinder Fiat.
He just had a bunch of really cool cars. And it reminded me of the MGF. And he was a person who just was like in his 20s and he had a good job and needed something fun to drive to work every day and was kind of sick of E30s and, that kind of sort of normal shit. And wound up having this fucking bizarro, impractical, pain in the ass little convertible that leaked every time it rained, which is continually because it's Europe, and blew head gaskets all the time because it had a Rover K Series engine in it. But it was kind of the perfect city car until you got it sideways and then it would spin and try to kill you. And I just kept thinking,
but who's doing that in a city anyway besides you?
Well, that car, you would do it. Me, I did it a lot. But he spun it too. I mean, it was just in the rain. That car was a fucking handful. And I just think this is the perfect replacement for that. Manual aside, right? We're stuck in the past. But like this would be the perfect, like I have to commute to work. I'm always by myself. I just want a little isolation tank with a really characterful engine and a great stereo and great seats. And I don't care that I can't go and do a $400 Costco run in it. The best daily driver for a young sort of enthusiast executive type, because it's expensive enough that you have to have a big job to be able to pull that off.
Sure.
But Yeah, I don't know how big of a market there is for that, and that's probably I don't.
Yeah,
think
there's
it
not
would
many
sell well.
people who can afford to buy those cars. And people who can afford to buy those cars get big brands. You know, you're buying a Porsche or a Lotus currently.
Right, and I think most people can't, and so most people can't even afford to buy a Miata.
Yes.
At this point,
Yeah.
And so it's a car that doesn't exist.
It's a bachelor car. That's what you're describing.
I guess
It's a bachelor car.
But we don't have bachelors in this day and age.
Do we
right?
have people who are involuntarily?
No, they're still living at home with their parents.
Oh,
I mean, that's the
true.
thing is that the whole idea of somebody in their 20s who's doing really well, making a lot of money, that's kind of gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, everyone I know that's in their 20s that's doing great is either living at home with their parents, scraping to get by, and they're driving some shitbox 10, 15, 25-year-old car. And they can't do a $90,000 car. I can't do a $90,000 car. You can't do a $90,000. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a shame because I wish the economics worked. I just don't think it does. Now, this does do things that Elise could never have done.
Sure.
And if this is price adjusted, Elise money.
Would you buy this or an Emira? If it were a V6 manual Emira?
It would have to be. I don't do automatics.
Yeah.
As far as automatics go, this is one of the least offensive. It's not perfect. It's not a Porsche PDK. I love the idea of PDK's launch control.
Okay, so what level of Cayman would it have to be where you would choose the Cayman over this car?
Oh, any of the four. I mean, I would choose any of the Cayman 4 liters over this.
Okay, so you would choose this over any 4-cylinder Cayman, but if it was a 6-cylinder Cayman, then you'd choose the Cayman.
Yeah.
What if it were a 6-cylinder PDK? You still choose a Cayman? Sorry, I'm just I'm in the comment section right now.
That's okay. I think there's a valid question. A 6-cylinder PDK Cayman, I couldn't do because
Would you choose this over that?
Absolutely, because
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing that I had a 6-cylinder PDK Cayman when I could have had a 6-cylinder manual. And that engine, look, automatics work far better with turbocharged engines, or I should say turbocharged engines work better with automatics anyway. And
Yes.
so if I'm going to go through the misery of a fucking turbo, then I might as well just fully emasculate myself and get the fucking automatic. I can't wait for the comments on this. But when you have an engine that's as glorious as that Porsche 4-liter, I'm sorry, unless you have a disability, there is no excuse, especially when that manual is that good.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So there you go. Jason would rather have the A110 than a PDK GTS 4.0.
or a GT4 RS.
Or a GT4 RS.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't.
There's your bombshell, actually. Jason would rather have the A110 over a GT4 RS.
When these cars turn 25, everyone just better start saving their fucking money.
The other thing I will add to this, and this is a unique reflection of our use cases, is that this would be a much more fun rally car than a GT4 RS because the GT4 RS is so low. I'm automatically discard any car that can't go 10 tenths or as fast as I dare to go without scraping.
Mm-hmm.
And any Porsche GT product that I've ever experienced will scrape on the kinds of roads that we drive on.
I will say, limit handling wise, I didn't exactly. Again, this is someone else's car, and I respect that. So I wasn't about to write it off. Plus, I can't do a Revelations episode on a steaming ball of stuff. And I've already had one insurance claim so far this year. Let me not have another one. Don't forget, go to jasonsentme.com for one on your. But I swear I won't say that again. But it does understeer a lot. I mean, and this is modified with springs, and then it does have the larger anti-roll bar at the rear from the S, which is 50% stiffer than stock. And the owner,
that make it assier?
the owner said it was the car was brilliant on track. On the sort of roads that I was driving it on, I just got some squealage from the front wheels.
Yes, I ran out of front tire faster or sooner than I was expecting to, actually.
Doesn't
when I drove
actually
it.
have that much grip.
Yeah, that was one of my notes that I made, was that I've surprisingly low amount of grip, actually, lower than I was expecting.
Yeah, same. And then the other thing that really reminds me of McLaren that I was going to say also is the brakes are very wooden, and that's a very McLaren thing. So the combination of not a huge amount of front grip plus the wooden brake pedal made me tend to want to slow my entry down. And then I could actually get rear wheel spin coming out of a corner in second gear. But I left traction and stability control on, and so it would nibble it. So I would love to have been on roads that were big and wide enough that I could really, really play, or racetrack ideally. And so I'm sure at the limit or on a racetrack that the Porsche would probably be a better dancing partner, but I kind of want to drive that every day.
Yeah, that was the other thing that was another conclusion I came to is I would like to go everywhere in this. Some cars you want to get out of, and other cars you're like, I want to be in it forever.
This has been kicking the shit out of me. This car's been sitting in this studio just collecting dust for weeks, and I just wanted to keep coming and picking it up and driving it. And I hate that I'm responsible / neurotic. It's probably more of the neuroses part of it. I don't want anything to happen to it.
Yeah. Especially not if you have a shoot coming.
Well, not even that. I mean, the shoot plus the guy coming in. Like, hey, like I know you went through. Like you're a hero.
Yeah.
For
So
shipping this car
we
over.
add that this is a temporary import. That it's here for whatever the time is, 6 months. That it's allowed to be here before it has to leave the country.
What I really wanted to do was a Cooter, a Ultimate Drag Racer episode of this plus Elise plus 4C plus Cayman 4-cylinder. And then I thought, okay, I'm gonna drive it back to LA because that's where we do that. Plus, the reality is, I don't think anyone would watch that episode. I just don't think it. I don't. 4C is, first of all, who's going to give me their 4C and let me do 50? It's a dry dual clutch. Yeah. So I don't really want to do 50 launch controls in that car. I suspect this transmission's fine. I don't know. But I wouldn't want to subject a lot of those cars to, at least you can't clutch dump. I mean, it's a Toyota transmission. And so that all combined with the fact that I don't think commercially it would do all that well.
You left the Emira out also.
The Emira's next league faster. And the Emira's in a
4-cylinder?
Yeah, I think so. Huh. Maybe not the 4-cylinder, but it's just next league bigger. It's just it's a 4-seat car.
But that car I categorize as the same size as a Cayman.
Fair point. Yeah, I don't know, but I just think of like Elise, 4C, and A110 as one category of cars, and then like
it's interesting.
Elise,
I paired this with Cayman because the ingress and interior are so functional that you can use it. A regular person who's not like insane, because there's always going to be some insane person who dailies an Elise, and those people are insane. But a regular non-insane person would comfortably daily that car, and I wouldn't do that with a 4C or an Elise, but I would do that with this car and a Cayman.
Fair point.
Anyway.
I think.
What a charming, characterful testament to the fact that it's still possible to make entertaining cars.
Yeah. And what a shame that. So Alpine was supposed to bring this car into the U.S., right? They confirmed this car for the U.S. and then just shut up about it. And by the way, the other weird thing about this whole project is, which I'll get to in the revelations, is the whole idea started as a joint venture between Alpine and Caterham.
What?
Yeah, they were going to build a lightweight sports car together. Then
it's so finished.
No. That broke up. That sort of marriage broke up. Then Alpine went out about it on its own. Did this car. So Renault did it, obviously, did this car. And the next one is a joint venture, was supposed to be a joint venture between Alpine and Lotus to be EV. That now also died. But the A110 replacement is coming to, as of 2024, before the tariff fucking craziness happened, is coming to the US and is EV and will be lighter than this is their statement, and will be lighter than the conventional internal combustion competition. Which means under 3,000 pounds for an EV part. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore.
Sure. I will believe it when I see it.
But I really wish Alpine had brought this to the States, even, as
all 7 that they would have sold.
I think they could have done a run of a couple thousand of them.
Obviously not worth the trouble to bring it over and set up a dealer network and all that stuff.
They could do it through Nissan. It's the same company.
Oh, yes. Good. Nissan dealership experience. Perfect.
I mean, the Alfa Romeo dealership experience for the 4C. What dealers were those?
Fiat. At least they're
and what deals were those, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they were Chrysler
Dodge
dealers, right? So, I think the gentleman who brought this car in is a hero. I think we've talked in the past about sending your car to a different continent for a week or two or the summer or whatever. Yeah. This guy did it right.
Yeah.
I mean, ship the car over, like say, hey guys, go have fun with it, hit a bunch of racetracks, drive his car, and then ship it home. I think is just absolute hero status. So.
Yeah, it's so cool to get to see it here and to drive it. Yeah. I've sort of just assumed I would never get to drive one.
Can you do me a favor and go and look at So I was in conversation with the owner of the car and said, hey, we're going to pick you up from the airport when you fly in, and we'll be filming, but we'll send our producer and she'll pick you up from the airport in my Vangina. And then I was like, oh shit, I should probably explain what I'm talking about. And he knew about the minivan having the license plate Gina on it. And he's like, yeah, well, I have a license plate bit of license plate fuckery on this car that no one's noticed. Go look at the rear plate. We'll stand by.
Okay.
I mean, I went twice over to the car and looked at it. So Derek can look. He's getting his exercise in, getting your steps in. See what you think about that rear license plate. Play the Jeopardy music, please. Now tell the class.
Is that a real place? So for foreign license plates, you can do this in England. This is like what they do instead of license plate frames. Is you have your license plate made and it'll say like the name of the dealer where you bought the car or something on the bottom of the plate in small letters, the same way that we would have a frame here that says, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Alfa Romeo, Stellantis, Nissan, Peugeot. Citroën of East Brunswick. Right. And this one says the Garage de les Assauts, I guess is how you would pronounce it in French.
Which sounds fun. A lot like Garage of the Assholes.
Yeah.
This dude is, clearly, like I said, hero status.
Why only on the back? It should be on the front as well.
Je ne sais pas. I don't know.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Well, that's a good finishing note, I suppose, for us.
I think so.
Yeah, drive one if you can somehow. If you live in a country where it's available.
Go to Europe and rent one.
Can you do that?
I'm sure.
I would.
Yeah. That'd be a wonderful car to
It's very entertaining. It would be very good for, Alpine usage, I think would be really ideal for this car, actually.
Yep. Okay.
All right,
so join us next week on another episode of the Carmudgeon Show.
For more forbidden fruit or available fruit or whatever kind
rotten
of
fruit?
Rotten
tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's what they should be throwing at us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, see you next week. Or
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Au revoir.